Now, a big buck, what else does he have to worry about besides another big buck? Humans. So that's his number one fear. That's his nightmare. Well, you're dropping that smell in there. Well, he's an old wise boy. He said, I'm going to put a little distance. He'll start trying to sneak out the backside. Well, you got people that come in from the other direction, sitting there that he don't know is there, and he can't smell them. I think the deer's sitting out there. He knows them hunters are there. He smells them. He sits there a couple of hours, and he's thinking, okay, well, I'm going to just sneak back out this other way. I'm going to get away from them. They start losing their nerve. They start trying to sneak out the backside. Well, see, now we've got hunters coming in from over here, and we got hunters coming in from over here. We may come in from a mile apart. And what we do, we get there that morning, and the way you do it, you box them in, is say, we call it a drop in, but you all drop in at the same time. All right, now you got them in you. You got them between you. And then you let your scent do the rest of it.
All right, Wes Moye, how you been?
Just fine. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad to have you in the studio.
That's the first time I've been to this one. That's pretty cool.
You like the new setup?
Yeah, I like this. It's a lot better than them crayons we used to use.
Jacob, how are you?
Doing good. Doing real good. Yeah. Doing great. All right. So, Wes, to kind of kick us off in the conversation, the crayon thing totally threw me off. And normally, I'm not the one that gets started off. Normally, it's Andrew.
Well, it was a reference to it. It was a little bit more primitive before.
Yeah.
Slightly
more primitive. So, we've been getting tons of questions about the first episode we ever had you on, which was back in, I think, 2019. Andrew was still living in Auburn. And we talked to you about what you called the wolfpack hunting. And we still get questions about it all the time. And we want to kind of get back to that conversation, kind of rehash it for a lot of the new audience members because it's extremely effective. And now, I don't know, 7 years later, we've experienced it. I've killed a couple bucks doing it with you. Andrew still yet to kill one.
I was thinking about that coming down here. We're just going to have to...
He's bad luck.
We got to tie one to a tree.
He's bad luck.
I think y'all are gar-holing me. I think I'm the pusher in this whole situation. You're like, we'll put Andrew up.
I'm the one that's not killing anything. Think about it. Every time we ban it, West. But I put everybody in the better spots that I think, and I take what's left.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The first time I came with y'all, I did see a buck. He wasn't a shooter. But he came through grunting, sounded like a tree frog.
But if you think about it, Andrew hasn't hunted that much with us doing the wolfpack. It's only been like a couple times.
Yeah, that's true.
It's been a handful of years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but kind of that's part of the conversation we're going to have. But one thing I'd love to kind of hit us off with, Wes, is talking about, just as a recap for people that don't necessarily know about you, how did you get introduced to deer hunting? Because it's a very funny and interesting story, and I think a lot of people should hear it.
I'd always been a kid that liked the woods and all that stuff. I was, BB gun warrior, all that. I stayed in the woods all the time. I got in college, and a buddy of mine, he carried me hunting for the first time. I was 17 in college, and he carried me deer hunting. First 10 minutes I was in the woods, I already had a deer down. Scared me as much as it did the deer. And I just started after that and just kept hunting. And there was a few years I was still going to school, he was going to school, so we hunted a few times together, but then it took us like 4 or 5 years before we got to points in our life where we could hunt a lot. It was Scott Smith who I'm talking about. And then once that kicked in, man, I mean, it was addictive. I mean, man, I got so addictive. I'm bad now. I was worse. I mean, I was really worse. I was thinking about it coming down here. And back when I was younger, on a dare, I run a 5K race. And won second place. Still got the trophy, so I ain't lying. Played a football game that night and was in the tree before daylight the next morning down in Costa County. I mean, I was hyperactive, and I just loved hunting that much. It didn't matter how tired I was. Didn't matter. It didn't even matter if I killed a deer, man. I was just wanting to be in the woods. But, I went through the normal growing pains of years. I mean, First time I went in the woods, I killed a deer. Second time I went in the woods, I killed 11 point. I thought, pretty easy. It was like 6 years later before I ever before I took another deer. But it was the growing pains. Everybody has to go through it, and then there were several years there, man. If there was a spot like that, hey, I was happy. I had a trophy, man. So you don't ever hear me cracking on nobody shooting little deer or anything like that, because you go through progression of deer hunting, and then, you want a bigger challenge, you want a bigger challenge, you want a bigger challenge. But there's been many years, man, I'd throw a dead gun spike up on the tailgate of the truck, and I was, big dog in town there for about 2 minutes in my brain. But, yeah, I never went deer hunting until I was 17, and like my buddy, like Scott says, he said, yeah, I've cost you a couple of wives and $1 million. And I said, yes, you have. Because, yeah, I've been divorced 3 times in my life, and they were all in January. That's a true story. They were all in January.
Which is the rut for everybody.
That is the truth. Well, the first time, I was 16, and it was one of those deals where I found out on Friday I was getting married on Sunday. And but I have been divorced 3 times, and all 3 of them was in January, end of January. Yeah, so yeah, it's cost me. But it was still the right decision, man. I look at them now and I think, man, I dodged that bullet. I'd rather be a deer hunter. Nah, it's something that occupies my brain. Honestly, it's unhealthy how much I think about deer.
But why? Let me just kind of I want to kind of learn a little bit more about just your psychology when it comes to deer hunting. What about it is so addicting for you?
The puzzle. It's the puzzle. It's the challenging yourself. It's our DNA is imprinted with the hunting mechanism. There's all through the history of mankind, there's been hunters and there's been firewood getters. I wasn't a firewood getter, and I was the hunter. And it's the puzzle. It's the chess game that you play, and trying to figure out, because I've killed deer all over the state of Alabama, and I'm a big WMA hunter, and I go from north to south and all that. But every single place I hunt, I've had to develop, everywhere I hunt, it's a little different. Because you have to figure those deer out. You got to know how they use the land there. You got to know this. And, and it's just, man, it's just fascinating. Plus, it's usually not the first couple of hunts, but about that third hunt, I feel like I relax. And I don't even know I'm stressed, but I relax. I've been in the stand 3 or 4 hours, and I sit there and I relax. And I've told many people through the years, I said, man, I'll be glad when it gets deer season so I can reset my brain, reset my body. You got time to focus, and I'm not a real big player on the phone thing, but back before the phone, it was great, man, because there was no distractions. You out there in nature, and, deer comes by, great. Deer don't come by, okay, that's great too. You refocus, you reset, it just energizes you. And, you may have problems going through life, but as you're going through life and work and family and all that stuff, you got all these other things invading your brain all the time. So you've got a problem that you're trying to figure out. Well, you get in that clear deer stand, everything just clarity. And like a lot of my life decisions, a lot of things the paths I've took in life was figured out on end up in a tree. Because of the serenity, and it's just, there's nothing about it I don't like. I mean, I really just enjoy it. The only thing I don't like is that I'm getting older and can't do it the way I used to. And other than that, man, it's 100% of the obsession. I mean, I'm obsessed. I want to do it, and when I'm not doing it, I'm thinking about it. So I guess that's enough for that one.
No,
I don't want to talk too much, but it really is. And it goes back to your primal nature, and there's so many different parts of your body that it comes to. It engages the brain, it engages, your everything. It just does you good. And it's not about the harvest. And now, especially since I've gotten older, I go for the more challenged. If I had 2 deer and one of them's kind of stupid, does stupid stuff, I'll go after the other one because I want that challenge. I want that mental chess game with him. I want that Okay, I moved here, you moved there, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Well, I'm going to try to fool you here. Well, you made me look like an idiot over there. And I love it, man. I'll play the chess game with deer. I know that I'm not going to harvest. I done it last year. And I beat him, and he walked right under my tree. And I said, yeah, I would have got you. But, you know, he needed another couple of years. But it was just, I played that game with him. And I'd run a feint on him. I do that a lot. And I absolutely believe deer pattern hunters, and there's no one going to change my mind. I've seen too much over the years. I know too much. I've watched them. Last year, I think I told y'all, I started what I was going to do. Every time last year after I hunted and I knew the wind was going to be blowing, I'd set up a game camera, and about 50 yards downwind from where I hunted, every single time, deer were coming up checking within 15, 20 minutes after I left. They were coming scent and checking me, and I said, okay. Well, I got this buck kept doing that to me. And I said, okay, I got something for you. And so for 3 days in a row, I showed up at I forgot what time it was. It was evening hunts. I'd show up at 3 o'clock every day for 3 days in a row. Well, that 4th day, I parked my truck completely different way, come in a whole different way. We had to walk down these railroad tracks a long way and cut back. It was long. And I come in at 1 o'clock. He walked right up under me. And, you know, it's the middle game. I love the middle game of it. It's just, it keeps my brain engaged. It keeps you viral, I guess you would say. But
Another big thing about the way that you hunt too, and just getting to know you over the years, one thing that Jacob and I have had a lot of fun with is just the camp atmosphere that you put together. Whether it's the wolf pack hunt or the river hunt that we do, whatever the case may be, it's just a good time, man. You're just out there with a bunch of dudes.
That's the point of it.
Mm-hmm.
If it gets to where it's feeling like a job, you probably need to take a little bit of a break, because when it comes down to it, it's not about, oh God, I got to get this deer on the wall. Oh man, I got to get so many in the record books. Oh, I got to, no, it's about camaraderie. It's about friendships. It's about the experience. You know, the river, the reason I like to hunt the river, because it's not normal. You got to get up there. You got to go up boats, up these dark rivers, foggy mornings. I mean, you know, I had both y'all tightened up that morning, but I knew the river pretty good. And, but it's different. It's a little different. It's more engaging, and you know, it's about having fun. It's about relaxation. That's if you're doing it for any other reason. I mean, if you have to feed your family with deer, I get it. Okay, you're doing it for a necessity. But if you've got meat, if you've got money to go to the grocery store, there's no other reason except to have fun. I mean, you should have fun doing it. That's the reason y'all seen me come in with no deer and hadn't seen any deer, but you don't see me sad, do you? Mm-hmm. I've still had a good day. Mm-hmm. A good day in the woods better than 90% of my other days. So, yeah, it's about having fun. It's about having a good time. You know, and a lot of it is the camp talk. Mm-hmm. You know, you talk to guys and stuff, and, you know, these guys have had a whole day of clarity. And you talk to a guy that morning, and you talk to him that evening, that's two different people. They really are. And I noticed that, and you can tell they're a lot more relaxed, more laughing, more cutting up, more joking. And it's just, you know, it does the soul good. Mm-hmm. I guess that's the long way around it, but that's what it does.
One, I guess, kind of curveball question I want to ask you is, and I've never asked you this, what are some of your core beliefs when it comes to deer hunting? Like things you put your whole heart in believing, like whether it's how you hunt, what you do, the progression. What are some of your core beliefs when it comes to deer hunting for people?
Well, they change. When you're a new hunter, you know, when I say new hunter, your first 4, 5, 10 years, okay? You believe certain things. All right, this is this is that, because I read it in a book, I seen it on video, this is the way it's supposed to happen. The second 10 years is usually your most productive. You can't hardly go wrong. You're going in the woods, you're busting them almost every day, every time you go. So different values, different cores have changed, different ideals have changed about deer. And as you get older, you know, you'll pick the path you like. Mine, thick. I get to the thick, man. Y'all seen it. Like you said, I don't hunt pretty woods, man. I hunt the thick. I like getting to the thick. There's not a WMA in Alabama on the first day of bow season where the deer aren't alert. Because a lot of people think, oh, it's first day of bow season, I get to go in there and, the deer ain't going to be spooked. They're just going to be walking in the open. Well, those gates open September 1st. You got squirrel hunters, you got people scouting, you got people in the woods shooting guns. No, those deer are already pressured. They're already pressured. They're already moving back to the thicker stuff. They're already not just posing going through the woods, And they, the core values and core things, I think, is hunt thick. You can't go wrong. Be very proficient with your weapon. Do not wound an animal. And I mean, man, that tears me up. I mean, if I decide to shoot and that animal don't drop, those are the deer that stick out the most in my brain. The ones that I've shot, found a blood trail, never found the deer. And that just kills me because, you want to do it humanely. The next core value is, you got to work at it. You got to be smart. And I think where I differ, and this is where I take the path off, I believe deception is a big factor in deer hunting. And I think one of the best books you could ever read about deer hunting, and I guarantee y'all ain't never heard this one, is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And it's about deceptions. It's about feints. It's about this and it's about that, because you are locked into a death game with what you're after. And, he's going to win, you're going to win, whatever. But deception and trickery and doing this and doing that and using your advantages for you, because he's using all his. It's quite a chess game. And, you're going to fail. And you're going to fail 99% of the time. You're going to not. And I've seen so many people, they put together these plans, they thought about them, they go in there and they execute, and they give up. Well, you don't know. That may have been the perfect plan to harvest that animal, but something may happen. There may have been a pack of coyotes crossed its path. There may have been a hunter crossed half a mile over there. Something may have, when you formulate a plan in your brain, have enough confidence in yourself to know that you're correct. Don't burn the place up, but what I'm saying is don't completely abandon it when it makes sense. And, your instincts will start over a few years. You just get instinctual about where you go, what you do, how you do it. If it works this year, you harvest so many deer this year, you've done good. The next year, you don't see a deer. That don't mean them tactics are bad. It's just you had a bad year. Don't go changing everything. You want to tweak how you hunt all the time. Of course, you want to get better. But don't abandon what works. Me, thick, I'm going to be in thick from now on. If I don't see a deer in the next 3 years, I'll still be hunting thick. Because it's worked for so many years. It's worked for so many, and I won't abandon that. So I guess that would be my core values, or my core thoughts anyway.
All right, hope you guys are enjoying this episode. Wanted to give you all a heads up on something. The Mobile Hunters Expo is coming up. It's going to be August 14th, 15th, and 16th in Dalton, Georgia at the Dalton Convention Center. Over the years, we've met a bunch of you guys at the Mobile Hunters Expo. It's really the highlight of our entire summer. It's the best trade show that we go to. And the reason that it's the best is because, one, they've got a killer speaker lineup. They do seminars every day of the show, and a lot of the speakers you guys have heard on this podcast before. So people like Bobby Worthington, Dylan Harper, Derek Norwood, Mariah Booth. So y'all do not want to miss those seminars. It's a great chance to sit down and learn from those guys, but also ask them questions in person, get to know them a little bit, get to talk to them, bounce ideas off of them. And then of course, the Mobile Hunters Expo is known for being the destination where you can go and try all the different mobile hunting gear, all the tree stands, all the saddles, all the backpacks. You can go try all that before you buy it. Our friends at Latitude are going to be there with their brand new Synergy climbing sticks. Y'all are gonna wanna check those out. And the beauty of the show is that you can go to that booth and you can talk to the guys in the booth who are experts on those products. They can show you how to use them properly. They can show you how to get comfortable in a saddle, how to fasten the sticks to the tree, how to get comfortable with your platform, how to pack your backpack effectively so nothing's hanging out and everything's nice and tight. So like I said, it's second to none when it comes to trying out new gear, getting new knowledge, and meeting like-minded hunters. So we're super excited for it. Cannot wait to meet you guys there. Make sure y'all stop by our booth and say hello to me and Jacob. We're gonna be there August 14th, 15th, and 16th. We're gonna have a booth right in front of the seminar area. So we'll see you guys in Dalton, Georgia at the Dalton Convention Center at the Mobile Hunters Expo. So if you hunt anywhere in the South, you are well aware of the fact that our temperature changes rapidly throughout the season. On any given day in November here in Alabama, it might be 80 degrees or it might be 40 degrees. You never know. For that reason, I like merino wool. Y'all have probably heard about merino wool over these last couple years as it's become more popular. The benefit of merino wool is that it's naturally temperature regulating. So that means those mornings in the deep South where it's really cold in the morning and then it gets kind of warm through the afternoon, that merino wool will keep you warm in the morning, but then it'll continue to wick away moisture throughout the day as you warm up so you don't end up getting hot. Another benefit of merino wool is it's naturally odor resistant. So it's not gonna start stinking after a day or two. You can wear it multiple days in a row without having to wash it, which is especially helpful when you're on a hunting trip somewhere and maybe you're camping and you don't have access to a washing machine. I've tried a lot of different merino wool shirts in the past, and an issue I've always had is durability, especially romping around out in these briars all over the place here in Alabama. This shirt that I've got on is a Mossy Oak Woodsman Series merino shirt, and I've had it for about a year and a half now, so I've put 2 turkey seasons and 1 deer season on this shirt so far, and it's still in great shape. I haven't managed to rip a giant hole in it, and it's not disintegrating off of me. So I've been very, very impressed with the durability of this shirt. Of course, it's merino, so it's got all the benefits of merino, and it comes in everybody's favorite camo, Bottomland. So if you want to try out one of these Woodsman merino shirts from Mossy Oak, you can head on over to the Mossy Oak store and use the code TSOP15 for a discount. Again, that's TSOP15 for a discount. Y'all make sure to use the discount because you're gonna get a discount and it helps us out. So we all know that excess noise can ruin a hunt before it gets started. And you might think that that's just you being loud walking through the woods, but you crunching leaves or maybe breaking a couple twigs isn't necessarily what ruins a hunt. Those are pretty natural sounds. What ruins a hunt before it gets started are man-made unnatural sounds like metal on metal contact, things rolling around and bumping together in your backpack, pieces of your gear getting snagged on vegetation and accidentally ripping a vine down out of a tree or something. It's just those unnatural sounds of both man-made objects like metal, but also pulling your way through brush. Because of that, I try to be very meticulous about how I pack all my gear on my backpack. I've tried a lot of different methods of organizing my gear in the past, and the best one I've found so far is the new Flyer Pack from Latitude Outdoors. For me, what makes this system so effective are these torque straps that are built right into the backpack. A lot of us have used these torque straps in the past to secure our gear, and they work great, but they've always been a separate purchase, you know, that you go and get at some store and then you tie your gear up with it. Well, these are integrated right into the pack frame. That does 2 things for you. Number one, it makes it super fast and easy to use them, and you can't lose them, which is great because I lose stuff all the time. But secondly, you can get your gear super snug on this pack, so it is not gonna move. It just makes for a more quiet, more comfortable walk into the woods when your gear is secured on your pack and you're not walking around feeling like you got a turtle shell on your back and everything's hanging off of you. If you want to check out the Flyer Pack and everything else that Latitude offers for us mobile hunters, head on over to latitudeoutdoors.com and check it out. If you want to get a head start on deer season, you can go out and you can actually scout feed trees in summer. This is something we've been talking about on the podcast quite a bit lately. Today I'm out here, I've got a pair of Vortex Viper HDs. This is a great pair of binoculars for this. And what we're doing is we're just looking up into these oak trees, looking to see if we can see the little acorn buds on the limbs. So as summer goes on, it's going to get easier and easier to see those buds as they get larger. A tip for that is when you're looking up in the tree, you want to find a limb that's daylighted. It's just nothing but daylight behind it. You're looking at an isolated limb, and you're just going to want to pick that thing apart with a good pair of binos like these that are clear. I like to use a trekking pole and actually brace the binos on the trekking pole and sit down underneath that tree and really look at it for a while. So if you want to get a head start scouting feed trees this summer, go get you a pair of Vortex binoculars.
Something every deer hunter gets excited about is when a cold front's pushing through. And one thing that Onyx Hunt just released that I'm really excited about is their new weather feature built into the app. What it allows you to do is be able to scroll throughout all your pins, whether it's in the same state, same county, or across the country, and get accurate weather data directly from that pin location with the closest weather station. This eliminates the need for multiple apps. Also, it has barometric pressure, but one other thing is it has accurate moon data. So for the guys that like hunting moon phase, moon positioning, all that kind of stuff, it shows all that in the app as well. So all you moon phase guys, moon positioning guys, we got you covered. So now onX Hunt is your one-stop shop for whitetail hunting, getting all the accurate information that you need, whether it's mapping, weather, looking at trail camera data, and so on. It's a one-stop shop for you. So if you want to try onX Hunt this fall, you can use the code SOUTHERN to save on your membership. Know where you stand with onX Hunt.
I'd like to break down a couple of those core thoughts, and then of course we'll transition to wolf pack hunting. But when you say like hunt the thick, what do you mean by that, and typically what does that look like?
Okay. Now, well, that don't lean forward. That can change from different different geography of Alabama. It can be so thick that you can't walk through it. I mean, I hunt places that you literally can't walk through it hardly, but I hunt on the edge of it. And then sometimes thick may just be just a little bit covered, like river hunting. It may be just a little bit of cover, but it's covered. I mean, you can probably see the deer walking through it, but they'll use it. And the thick thing, it changes from everywhere, but for me, the thicker the better, because I try to do the empathetic approach. You know, if I was a deer, where would I go? I've got Jacob and Andrew after me with these high-powered rifles. Where am I going to go to where they cannot shoot me? What am I going to do? Well, how am I going to do it? And how am I going to know when they're coming? Because I don't have a calendar to tell me where deer season starts. So where can I go to absolutely hide from them or to know they're coming after me? And then when you start getting in that mind frame, then you start getting on the big boys, because the big boys are just a whole different animal. They really are a different animal. They do nothing like the other deer. And once you get in that mind frame, you'll start honing in on them. You know, you go to that place that hunter don't want to walk up there. You know, you go to that place that's not easy access, not easy access. The last 2 or 3 years, I go after a target deer, and I've had to use a ground blind, simply because there wasn't trees. There wasn't this. There wasn't the ideal, I'm a tree stand hunter, not a saddle, but tree stand. That's the way I love to hunt. But the last couple of years, I melted to what the deer are showing me simply because there wasn't a place where I could ambush that animal that was good for that type hunting. So I adjusted. I changed my tactics, and that will be a constant through your whole hunting career. If you want to be successful, you have constantly got to change, and the way you change, the deer will tell you, and the deer will let you know. And if you're not seeing them here, if you're not seeing them there, if they're showing up on camera at this time, okay, well, let's go back a little bit further, closer to the thick. But the thick, man, there's so many different reasons why. For one, I got plenty of food in the thick. I got plenty of cover in the thick. There's not a lot of hunters can get into real thick stuff without you knowing they're coming. And that's where they go. You think, you may take off on a management area and you think you walk 2.5 miles and you think, oh man, I'm somewhere where nobody's been, man, I'm way back here, these deer are going to be tame. You look down and find a spent gun shell. No, you're not nowhere in Alabama. None of these big management areas. There's several up north that people think they go 2 or 3 miles back, they're good. No, there's people been there. And they've probably been there that season. They've probably been there that couple weeks. So you have to treat every deer like it's pressured. Every pressured deer does not want to die. So what are they going to do? Where are they going to go? What they're going to do? Now, we're talking outside the rut. The rut, that's a whole different category. But outside the rut, what are they going to do? And actually, that formation of thought is actually what got me doing the wolfpack thing. It didn't take me many years hunting on management areas by myself to figure out that all the deer are pressured. They're pressured. I mean, there may be hikers, there may be squirrel hunters, rabbit hunters, hog hunters, people scouting, just there's people on the management areas all the time. Public land, I was a firefighter paramedic, so I wasn't real wealthy. So, shoot, man, I sat there and I thought, okay, well, back then, oh, this is going to hurt your feelings right here. Management license were $2.50. And you can pay $2.50, man. You can hunt thousands of acres. You ain't got to join no, $1,000 club or nothing. I thought, cool, I'm in. Didn't know how hard it was going to be, but I was in. But I started realizing it didn't take me many years to figure out that all the deer are pressured, and I treat them like they're all pressured. And I treat them like that philosophy, that thought process I just said about deer are going to go to where they think they're safe. They are. Now, we're not, outside the rut. Everything I'm talking about is not the rut. And that kind of got me onto the wolfpack thing. I got to thinking to myself, and we've talked about it before, I started hunting in the 80s when, it was just a war zone. And I am telling the truth, man. You would hear 200 shots in the morning. And I've told the story about the progression of the deer. You could hear this guy shooting, and that guy shooting, and that guy shooting, and that guy shooting. You say, boy, that deer's still making it. That deer's still making it. And then you hear that one last shot, and you say, I guess that was it for him. But you heard that progression of shots. And there were so many people on the management areas back then that they kept these deer. These deer were up and moving, man. They just kept them moving, and you hear all these shots and all that stuff. So I got to thinking, I know them deer over in that thick stuff. That's where I'd be. Well, I cannot get in it. So how am I going to get them out of it? So I got to start thinking. I said, people were doing man drives and stuff like that, but people were successful once the deer was up and moving. Then people really got on it, chased the progression of shots. And I got thinking, well, the best way to get these deer is get them pushed over me, get them moved over me. Well, back then, Scott, he was doing his thing, and there were several years there I just went hunting by myself. Kind of where it clicked one time, I pulled into a management area here in Central Alabama, and they used to give these little paper maps out. And I got to looking at it, and I went, there's a big road over here. There's a little bitty road going up through here. There's a green field there. There's a little bit of water right there. Them deer's got everything they need. I think that was in 86. I think 86, 87. 86 maybe in 85. I don't know. I'm old. Anyway, and to this day, I still hunt that land. I still hunt that same area because the other thing I believe is absolutely know the land. But anyway, the reason I picked it, it had water, it had cover, had deer, but there was a big road over there. And I said, I bet hunters come in from that road. And if I sit over here, if I come up this little bitty road up and back of it, I can sit over here and them hunters will push deer over me. When they start walking in the morning, I think the deer's going to slip off, try to get away from them. It worked. I went, okay, I might be on to something. And so I started going, I went to several different management areas in Alabama, and I started doing the same thing. And it worked. My numbers kept going up. I was having people push deer over me. They wasn't driving or none of that. They were just hunters walking in the woods. And I got to noticing there were certain times I would take deer. And, and I found out that most hunters go to the truck at 10 o'clock. Okay, well, they were up moving around. Well, I would stay after 10 o'clock, and I killed a lot of deer between like 10 and 11:30. And I noticed a lot of hunters would come back about 1 o'clock. Well, I killed a lot of deer right before 1 o'clock, right about 1 o'clock. But the hunters were coming back in. They were moving the deer. They were doing man drives without doing a man drive. And that's kind of what got the wolfpack thing started. And, my son was young, but he eventually come on of age and he became a deer hunter. And myself and Scott, whenever we'd go hunting on the river or whatever, we'd always set up to complement each other. Well, if I don't get him, you will. Well, if I don't get him, you will. Well, I get on this end, you get on that end. We got everything in the middle covered. So we started hunting in coordination. Well, then I started putting it together, and then what made it all click is I was watching National Geographic, man, the painted dogs, but they call them painted wolves of Africa now. I was watching how they do it. Well, you'd have a couple of dogs pushing. Well, you'd have dogs strategically put on up there, and they'd get this herd animal going. Now, that dog that started the chase never got it, but he wore it down, and he run them right into other ones that he didn't know was up there. Oh, not just like, duh. And I was thinking, well, why don't we do that? But we do it with scent. Because I know deer will move out when they smell a hunter. I said, we'll try it with scent. Well, I told Aaron Stapleton about it. He's a member of the wolf pack. There's 8 of us. And I told him my idea, and he said, well, how would you propose doing it? So I knew my son and Jerry Morphus and them was hunting over there on one side of this big old thicket. And I said, okay, well, let's do this. And we'd done it twice without ever saying a word to them. Both of them came out with big bucks. The deer were smelling me and Aaron. They were trying to sneak back out the backside, and they run right over my son and his buddy. And, and of course, they thought they were big hunters, ragging us, and they didn't know they probably don't know till now that we'd done that to them. Well, they got a little too cocky, so we pulled the cord on them. What we done, we didn't get in those places. We went to another place. Neither one of them seen a deer. I went, okay, now we got it. And then that formulated. And basically what we do is we'll get an area that we think deer are staying in. And it's not a small area. It's usually generally a large area. I mean, y'all been with us. We stretch out like 3/4 of a mile. And what we'll do, scout it really well, and it's usually thick stuff that comes to something else, like a transition from thick to something else. Well, we try to find the exit trails. Well, to me, the exit trails are kind of important, but the geography around it's more important. Because if you can find the low place coming out of it, or you can find the little bit of thick coming out of it, like a trail thick running up side of the hill. Because of SMZ, they didn't cut it, because I love that word, those acronyms. Those places, set up on those low places coming out. Because deer, like humans, the least resistance, okay? And plus, they're still not wanting to get shot. So you want low places, you want drainages, you want cover coming out of the thick cover. You want the shortest distance to the next cover. The woods may be the same, may be big woods all around it, may be pretty woods. All right, what's the shortest distance to that next cut over? Good place to sit. And once we got it all together, and I guess it all came together about 2018, 2019 when I got the group together and all of us started hunting together. And I tell them why we're sitting here, why we're sitting there. This ridge comes out. Well, these deer come down this way. Well, they're going to come out this way. They do this, they do that. The wolf packing, what we do, we surround an area. We use our wind off the hunters to move the deer. The deer's going to sit there for a little while because usually no one kills a deer except Jacob till about 9 o'clock in the morning. Jacob shoots them like 7 something. But about 9 o'clock in the morning, between 9 and 10 o'clock, somebody usually kills a deer. But what happens, and this is an assumption, but it fits the narrative. I think the deer's sitting out there. He knows them hunters are there. He smells them. He sits there a couple of hours, and he's thinking, okay, well, I'm going to just sneak back out this other way. I'm going to get away from them. They start losing their nerve. They get this human sense all over them. And they start trying to sneak out the backside. Well, see, now we've got hunters coming in from over here, and we got hunters coming in from over here. We don't all walk down the same trail. We may come in from a mile apart. And what we do, we get there that morning, and the way you do it, you box them in, is say, we call it a drop in, but you all drop in at the same time. Because if this side drops in 10 minutes before this side, you're just going to blow all the deer out. So you all drop in at the same time. All right, now you got them in you. You got them between you. And then you let your scent do the rest of it. And your scent will drive that deer towards another hunter. And you don't have to have a lot of people. I know this is one of the questions that you put up. I have done the same principle and the same theory with me. I was using hunters coming off a main road. I used a secondary road come up behind them. I was using hunters. They were doing the same thing. I was basically using the same thing. Myself and Brock Love, one time, there was 50 acres of land, and there was a big field over here. Well, that's a dead zone boundary, and you don't think a field would be, but a buck's not going to walk out there in that middle in the open during the middle of hunting season. There was 2 narrow places on each end of this land, but he got on one, I got on the other one. All of a sudden, man, here come a buck just hauling butt towards me about 9 o'clock in the morning. He probably done smelled Brock, and he come up and he just run right in front. He didn't make it, but he run right by me. And you use the scenarios. The wolf packing is, instead of using like the painted dogs, I use that. Instead of using the leg power to chase them, we're using our scent. We let our scent move the deer. Now it's a slower process. Some of them deer won't get up 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. Don't lose faith. But once our scent, especially if the thicket's low, I mean, your scent's dropping in there on them, man. It's dropping in there. They know you're there. I don't care what you wear. I don't care what these scent people say. No, you ain't coming up your scent. They don't know how molecules work. But a lot of people say, oh, well, you put the scent killer on it. Well, they get closer to you before they smell them. Well, they don't understand molecules, how that works. No, one molecule, they know you're there. But anyway, so you're dropping all this scent, and that is their number one fear besides big predators. Now, a big buck, what else does he have to worry about besides another big buck? Humans. So that's his number one fear. That's his nightmare. Well, you're dropping that smell in there. Well, he's an old wise boy. He said, I'm going to put a little distance. He'll start trying to sneak out the backside. Well, you got people that come in from the other direction, sitting there that he don't know is there, and he can't smell them. And that's the guys that get it. And another question that was on there, and this is the weird part, but I can explain it. When it's not the rut and you do that, the upwind side's the best place to be. Deer's going to travel with their nose. You know, they're going to come the upwind side. During the rut, now it seems weird, but the downwind side works better. Because most bucks during the rut, and I'm telling you, I've seen it a lot. Now, we're talking about pre-rut, not rut. The rut, they already tangled up, but like a couple of days right before they get hot. They're searching. They're all searching. Well, what they'll do is they'll run down the length of a thicket. Say the wind's coming this way, and they'll run this way, and they know everything that's in that thicket. That was the scenario for you that morning when you killed that, what was it, 8 point?
That's
the first, 7 point.
The 7 point, yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Well, deer will check running down the downwind side during the rut. Blows your mind. Well, both sides are good during the rut. And here's another thing, and you probably ain't gonna read this, but it's my son brought it up to me one time, and I got to thinking. I said, well, maybe he's right. Them does will run to the thick to get away from them bucks. They will. And Wesley, my son, he thinks that it's because they can skip through them trees. They ain't got them antlers catch them up and all this stuff. They'll go to the thickest stuff there is. They can go through there, but it slows him up a little bit. They can still come through stuff you wouldn't believe, but still, it slows him up a little bit. Now, I'm talking about super thick stuff, and that's where they'll go. And so both sides is good during the rut. You just sit on the exit trails, and, you know, you're just waiting. You saturate an area that you know bucks are in. And when I'm saying an area, I don't know. It could be half a mile. It could be a quarter mile. You don't see the other guys. Mm-hmm. We're not sitting on top of each other. You know, I think every time you went, 400 yards apart from each other?
At least, probably.
Yeah, probably 300-400 yards apart. But we're all sitting in, like, places that where the deer, if they come out of that thick, they're going to go.
That's something, and you mentioned this, and I want to kind of dive into it even more about the low exit trails where they're able to go up or down through a drainage or a low spot
every time.
And exactly, because every time I've done it, and this was something interesting after doing this with you guys for 4, 5, 6 years, and seeing it all the deer you'd see would be coming up through a little low spot or down through a little low spot. They weren't coming up a point. They weren't going down a point. They were sending the low spots. And typically those low spots is where that cover extended out of the thick stuff and kind of trickled out through the actual pretty woods.
And that's the place. We carried a boy. We had a drawing, myself and Michael Perry last year, and we carried a boy, and we put him right where you were. Mm-hmm. He saw 22 deer on a state management area last year in the first day. He seen 22 deer coming up out of drainage out of a thick. The first day. The second day, I think he seen 4 or 5. But it was a hurricane. But, yeah, well, it's just like, put yourself in the brain of the deer. You want to run up that hill or you want to run up that? I mean, you're wanting to get to point B over yonder the fastest you can. Is it going to be better running up a hill or up this kind of low, gradual place rising up? Well, you're going to make better time going up it. They'll hit those drainages coming out of those thick spots. And it's just choice, the path of least resistance. You know, they're going to get there the way they can. And the cover thing's really big. Now, if there's cover that leads out of thicker cover, oh my God, please. And then if you can find 2 thickets and there's cover between them, yeah, that's a real good place. I mean, solo hunting, I've done more damage to deer herds on that kind of scenario. There may be a thicket. A lot of people don't mistake me when I say those thickets, that it's not close together. Maybe a quarter mile apart. You know, like Michael Perry was talking about creek crossing. Everybody thought he was talking about right there at the creek. No, he's talking about 400 yards off the creek. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm talking about these thickets could be 400 or 500 yards apart. Now, if you was going to go from this and that one, you didn't want to get shot. How would you get there? Set that spot. Get there. Because these deer are pressured. You think you're going in there on these little old deer and they just going to be... No, these deer are already hardened, man. They're veterans. So.
But before we go deeper in that, because I don't want to move past it, you mentioned the questions that we've been getting. So I put a post up on our Circle account, which is just our community. And Wes, you're on there. I saw you responding to some of these in the comments. But that's kind of what spurred this interview, because we did one of our hunters hangouts, and a lot of the guys on that hangout were asking about wolf packing. So I made a post before we did this episode where everyone could chime in and ask questions. And I think the one you were referencing, that was from Lane Simmons, and he was asking about using other hunters to wolf pack. Like if you don't have a group of guys and you're just doing it yourself, you said that's how you started out.
Yeah.
When you're doing that, how are you predicting where that pressure is going to come from? Is it just from being familiar with your area, driving around, seeing where trucks are parked?
When you go to a place, and it may not happen the very first time you go, but when you go to a management area, you're going to pick up a lot of information you don't even know you're picking up. You are. Okay, well, I'm sitting here. I heard a bunch of shots back that way today. Them guys killed a deer over that way today. Well, I heard these trucks coming in from this way today. And it sounded like them trucks parked over there today. You know, and you pattern the hunters. Mm-hmm. And I do that a lot. I mean, I really love to pattern hunters. And, you know, you get the days where it's just brutally cold. Best days in the world, man, because them guys are walking. They're cold. They ain't seen nothing. And a big mistake a lot of people make especially on WMA, you're not hearing very many shots that morning. Oh, well, the deer are all laid up. They ain't going to be moving. We'll see. That thoughts went through every other hunter. Well, a lot of them get up and start walking around. They said, well, I might as well make us a scouting trip. That's the best time to be in a tree, because they'll push them right over you, man. But, yeah, you can actually, now that, you know, with some of these maps and some of these apps that you got, you can see the pull-offs, where you see where a couple of trucks have been pulling off. And we went to a management area several years ago, and Jerry and Wesley, they were looking at the map. And they said, okay, well, it looks like these guys have been using, it was a big road, one of the main named roads. Well, there's a big pull-off right here, and there's a big pull-off over there. So there was another road come in from another highway, way back. We'd go like 7 miles around, come back in. We'd come back in the backside. Well, we come in, and we set up about 1,000 yards from where we thought these guys were going to walk in. Maybe not quite 1,000, 700-800 yards anyway. It was a pretty good way. We gave them plenty enough room to walk in and do their thing without us interfering with them. And then we did a little semicircle. All three of us come out with rack bucks. Since I talked to you, I've been looking through my phone. And I think in 2019, we kind of started hunting together. And I stopped counting at 114 rack bucks we've taken doing this. 114 in 7 years.
Oh my goodness. When you put it that way.
Last year I took no shots, so you can't count me for nothing. I saw 80 something deer before December 18th. Never took a shot. And without me, I think still they killed like it was the maximum, whatever that is. Sometimes 21. I think they killed 21 bucks. No, they didn't. They killed 19 rack bucks last year, and a whole bunch of does and hogs and stuff like that. But people we carried with us. See, Michael killed one, and then I think with my son and them, I think there were 5 or 6 guys. They killed big, nice rack deer last year, but in total, everybody together and the people that went with us last year, there was 26 racked bucks killed in one season, and that's without me taking a shot. So that was 7 guys done that. That was just last year. So it works, and the more you do it on a government land, you get to knowing that government land, and you get to knowing it better, and you get to knowing what the hunters are doing, and you get to knowing this, you get better at it as the years come. And, and then after a while, and you killed a 9-pointer year before last on a place I sent you to. Mm-hmm. Do you know why I sent you there, really? This finna blow your mind.
I mean, based off gunshots, there's guys across the ridge from me.
I used to hunt there in 97, and they clear cut it. Those trees you were in have grown since I've been going there. But in 97, I used to see a lot of deer moving through there. There was a lot of deer moving through there. And I thought, well, the trees are grown now. They're big enough to get a tree stand in. But in 97, they clear cut, to the ground, just buried it off. So I sent you in there because I remember that SMZ going up through there. I used to harvest deer in that all the time. And I sent you there from information that was over 25 years old.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it worked.
It worked.
But here's the thing, and it didn't make me feel good. I mean, it really kind of like, oh, God. But I'd done it enough, and I'd done it so long, the dick-gum forests growed back. And I ain't even been going over there because I put it in my brain, that's clear cut. Well, this done got to the point now where you can't say nothing. You can't even hunt it. It's so thick. Now them trees 30 foot tall, 40 foot tall, and all that. You can put a tree stand on them. But the information I used in my brain, because I remember they used to run that spot. And I remember I sent a boy down in there one time. He shot a 4-point. And I sent my son down in there, and he was young, man. He had seen 13 deer that morning. Didn't take no shots, but there was 13 deer. I think there was all does or something. Well, I started going down in there, and I think that season I killed 2 or 3, and then the next season I'd done killed another one there, and then they click it. I didn't go back. Till the year before you went, and I went in there and I killed a real tall 6-point. I said, okay, well, they're using it again like they used to. But it was 20-something-year-old information, the reason you went to where you went. That was the reason. Where I put Michael that day, I've been hunting that spot since the mid-'80s. And we call it 9-point holler. There's been so many 9-pointers killed in there, it's unbelievable. And he went and shot 8-point.
Yeah, Michael.
Well, you brought it. You got redemption. The next week you went in there and shot 9 points. So it's back to 9-point holler again. But
But that goes to show how they use the terrain.
But it goes back to remembering, and the more you do it, and I know a lot of these younger hunters, man, they are so fired up, and they're just wanting to get that big deer, and sometimes it takes time. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how lucky you are, but sometimes it just takes time. time. Wisdom takes time. Wisdom of the land, you know, learning how the deer use the land. But you got to learn how the hunters use the land. Where are these deer like super pressured? Where are they kind of getting a break? Where would they go to get away from all these people coming in from this direction, that direction, all these different directions? And you're sitting there and you got this mental game going 365 days a year. And then once you get older, it's fun because you want to figure it out. And let's see if I'm right. And you go in there and, you know, and I'm not a big scouter anymore. Well, I was last year because I picked up some new land. But I don't scout that much anymore because I have so much history. And I'm talking about, you know, I shot a member of this deer's great granddad, you know, and I know his whole family history, you know. And so when you get that kind of information, you know, it comes automatic. But it's just great, man. I love deer hunting. I'd go right now. We can go tomorrow. I'll leave the gun at home. We'll still go. I don't care. I like the mysteries. I like you know, last year, I never pulled the trigger. I seen a lot of deer. I never pulled the trigger. But it was a great year. Man, I was seeing deer almost every time I went. I think there was 2 trips I made the whole year where I didn't see a deer. And, you know, that's pretty good. You know, that's pretty good on public, and that's pretty good on private. And that's a lot of different public and a lot of different, well, one piece of private. But
How long do you think that it takes you to like learn your area that well? How many years does it take you to like really get something down pat?
to how they use the land, well, you can do it in a season. You can, the 400 something acres I was scouting last year, I know how they use that land now. I know how they use it now.
Mm-hmm.
How individuals going to use that land, that takes a lot longer. I mean, you really got to peg him down. I mean, you got to, it depends on how much you want to walk. But, you know, you can walk. I've seen these people say they scouted 3 or 4 miles that day. And the one thought comes through my mind, I said, they didn't scout it right. Because when you're scouting for everything. You're not just out there, oh, well, let's see this big, you know, this big rub or this big scrape or, oh, God, there's a big track. You're looking at the browse. You're looking at the acorn trees. You're looking at the low places coming out of places, the path of least resistance. You stop every once in a while and you just sit there and you put yourself in a deer. Would I stand here if somebody was trying to shoot me? Well, no. I'll move on. And you go and you put all these questions, you ask these questions. The biggest word in deer hunting is why. It is absolutely the biggest word. And when you can start figuring out some of them whys, you ain't got to figure them all out. You start compounding your luck on what you're going to harvest. And if you can knock out some of those whys, you're real good. Now, I'm not saying you can't walk out there and just be crazy house lucky, because I can't tell you how many times I've walked on land, never been on it before, and come out with a big deer. Fluke. Just walked right in on him. But it could have also been some of them hunters were overthinking and they didn't go to the simplest thought process. They wanted to go 2.5 miles back when he was 150 yards off the side of the road. You know, you can't overthink it. And I have to stop myself from doing that sometimes. You know, so, but deer will change 2 or 3 times during the season. They'll go from kind of pressured, to super pressured, to not giving up, if it's a buck, not giving a crap if they're standing on top of your truck, to a little less pressured, and to reclusive. You know, towards the end of the season, I just want to eat, and, you know, I want to break up some of this, build up some fat back, and I want to, you know, make it through the winter. So your hunting has to adjust to that. You have to know when it's coming and what phase you're in the woods. The rut is not the only phase you go through. You have the early season bucks. You have the pressured bucks. You have the pre-rut. You have the rut. You have the post-rut. And then you have the ones just trying to survive the winter. So you have to know where you're at on that land the whole season. It'll change your hunting, what you do and where you set up and everything else. Talking too much.
Not at all. I don't think you're talking enough, actually.
Hey, man.
Well, I do, Wes. I want to ask you, just while we're on the topic of wolfpack hunting, there's a bunch of other questions that came through our Circle account.
Which, by the way, if anyone wants to join Circle, we got a link in the description where you can go join.
Absolutely. So this is from Chris Jones out of South Carolina, and he's interested a little bit more on the access standpoint when you're hunting with a wolfpack and a group of guys. He was asking specifically on a wolfpack hunt, as far as access, have you ever, or do you ever normally send guys in from what he calls around the clock, in quotes, talking north, south, east, west, going to an area, or how do you like to pinch down to a spot? Because
like I explained earlier, we like to surround the place all at once. We'll come in from every direction at once. And how much you do it is how many people you got. You know, the first time we done a wolfpack hunt, your brother had to leave. Mm-hmm. Well, just a few minutes after he left,
Jerry,
a buck went right through where he was supposed to be, and the guy killed it right next to him.
Yeah.
It was a big, nice. It was a big, nice 9 point.
it was. Yeah.
So you know what we'll do, and y'all have seen it, is we'll hunt that morning until about 11 o'clock. And then if guys want to move, and I don't understand sitting in the same tree all day long could be rough, and not everybody likes to hunt different. But what we do, we're sitting there and we're messaging each other. So we know if deer moving, what's moving, and y'all seen it, man. It can light up. Oh, doe go heading this way, small buck heading this way, blah, blah, blah. And we're constantly real-time information. We'll hunt about 11 o'clock. Well, at 12 o'clock, we'll grab a spot to eat and we'll re-strategize. Okay, maybe some people had to leave. All right, we need to fill in that hole. All right, well, maybe we need to tighten this down a little bit more. Maybe we need to loosen it up a little bit more. Maybe we need to do that. So you make the adjustments on the fly. You still have the deer contained. If they've been laying there all morning, they're still laying there. Okay, well, what can we do to make it move? Do we need to move a little bit closer? Do we need to move this guy up in the wind a little bit so more of the scent will go down to where we think these bucks are hanging out? And we re-strategize at the middle of the day. But as far as the wolfpack philosophy, it's pushing deer, but it's using scent to push deer. And that's all it is. And you use a group of guys to use scent, and then you close in on them all at the same time. As far as the directions, yes, we'll drop in. The optimum way of doing it is everybody drop in at the same time from every direction. Mm-hmm. And so you've got this area of maybe 100 acres surrounded. And you're sitting on every exit trail because you've already done your scouting. You know where the exit trails are. You know where the depressions, the drainage coming up. You know where the thicks are. So you got people sitting there. So, you know, it causes a little panic on the deer, and the deer starts coming out. And, you know, the older they are, the later in the morning they'll come up and stuff like that. And, you want to just surround them. And you got to do it all at once. Like I said, if one side's not communicating with the other side, like you've noticed when we're hunting, I'll text everybody, all right, now, and we all start in at the same time. That's so one side don't blow the deer out the other side. And so now we're sitting here over 50, 60 acres, and every deer in that 50, 60 acres has got to come by somebody. Just got to wait him out. When's he coming out?
So another question from Clay Harper, and you've really, I think, touched on this really well, but he's asking about escape routes. And you talked about scouting for them, looking for those low depressions, looking for areas that a deer can slip out of that cover, and how that cover will extend off from where the most of the thick is up into the woods that makes it easier for them to escape. But they kind of elaborate, and that's really what Clay's asking. So you've already kind of answered that. But kind of elaborating on it, he's wondering also if you're going into a new area, and I know you've hunted a lot of the same areas over and over again, but if you had the opportunity to go into a new area and do a wolf pack, from a scouting standpoint and from a sign standpoint, what makes one thicket better than another to set up to wolf pack hunt?
Access. How can you access it from 2 or 3 different directions without making all the noise in the world? There may be a road over here and a road over there, and maybe one a mile up here and a half mile this way. You didn't build your little square. Like I was explaining about the one about that management area down south. I'm gonna tell it again. Anyway, we'd never been there. We'd never been to that part of the management area ever. But had a little access trail we could walk down to get way back behind them hunters. We knew the hunters were coming in from the main road, and we just done a little semicircle out there, way away from them. You do not want to interfere with another man's hunt. Big no-no. When I'm saying let them push the deer to you, I'm not saying you're going to see that other hunter. But you know he's coming in from, say, that road that's over there 700-800 yards away. And them deer are slowly going to move away from them as they're coming in. So, yeah, it don't matter about the new area. If it's thick, and if it's in Alabama, it's probably got deer in it. I mean, I'm not talking about a thicket the size of this room. I'm talking about a thicket maybe 10 acres or more, or 2 acres or more. Let's go with 5 acres. 5-acre thicket or bigger, it's going to hold a deer. There's going to be a deer in it. Every time there's going to be a buck in it. The thicker, the better. If it's up on elevation and it's 2 acres, there's a buck in it. If it's in the middle of deer season, there's a buck in that thicket. Now, whether he comes up, whether he gets up, whether he moves, that's a whole different world. There's going to be a buck in it. And new areas, man, we've done that a lot. We go in a new area, and they just pull out the little topo maps. And I'm not even talking about the LiDARs and all this stuff. I'm talking about the paper map. Well, here's a road. Well, here's a trail. Well, here's another road over here. Well, these hunters may come in from this side, and then hunters, and you just talk it out. And, well, if we come in this way and we get like this, hit this, if they move any deer, they're going to have to come by us to get out. Or the wind's blowing this way, so the deer's going to, if it's not the rut, they're going to turn into the wind eventually and try to get away from them hunters. All right, well, they're coming in close to this thicket. Well, here's a big thicket. I think they're going to go to that thicket. Let's get in between them hunters and that thicket. And we've done that. I've done that a lot of times. When I was solo, completely solo, that was my number one tactic. I would find these pull-offs. I'd find a thicket maybe half a mile away. I'd get close to that thicket and catch them moving towards that thicket. Get off their wind, especially if the wind was blowing from the thicket to the hunters. Like if they spooked the buck off, not the rut. Not the rut. The rut, whole different world. Say it's not the rut. It's early in the season. You know, a couple of hunters are going to come in from this direction. When I'm saying hunters, it ain't got to be a bunch. It don't take a whole lot to move the whole woods. You know, there's a lot of animals in the woods that'll tell you hunters are around. Crows are the worst. Crows will absolutely let you know hunters are coming. But say a truck's pulled up out there and you see these guys, you pass them. You go way back around and you come back in, say set 1,000 yards off. And there's a thicket out there. A lot of it's big, pretty woods except that thicket. Well, any deer between that truck where them guys are sitting and that thicket, these guys are going to move them towards that thicket because they're going to go to the thicket for safety. Get there. Especially, the first thing, all right, they're calling for a northwest wind that morning. All right. Look northwest of where the hunters are going to be. Is there a thicket out there where these deer can travel straight into the wind and get to that safety spot and smell everything in front of them? Well, if there is, you don't sit right there on it, but set off from it just a little bit. Just give those deer a free nose heading towards the thicket, and you pick them off. And that was so successful for me. There was one season, I can't remember what it was. It's probably the 90s, something like that. I harvested 14 deer, and 11 of them were bucks. And I bet you of those 11, 10 of them were done that way. I would find a thicket from where hunters, this wasn't a map. I already knew hunters come in here, and I would go and find thickets. And back then you didn't have like pictures. You had to walk and go find a thicket. And I'd go find a thicket and I'd say, okay, well, we got mostly northwest winds. You know, if we got a northwest wind when these hunters come in, let's go see what's out that way. And you go find the thicket and you find your place to hunt. In the year I shot 14 deer, probably 10 of them I've done doing exactly that. I let the hunter push them. And when I'm saying pushing, now them deer are hard to shoot simply because they are alert. They're not walking through the woods trying to eat. They're not browsing. They're trying to go to safety. Unless they jump, if they jump a deer, it's only going to go 100, 150 yards, and it's going to slow down. But most of those deer I seen heading towards them thickets, man, they're on pins and needles. They're just, okay, I got to get to this cover. I got to get this cover. And, they keep stopping. And I mean, that head's on a swivel, man. And them ears are going everywhere. So you gotta be quiet. And but yeah, you can absolutely do it. One person, two people, and new land, the topography, man. There's a place that myself and Brock, and here's the thing about topography, and I want to make this point. The topography hasn't got to be a road. It can be a place a deer won't go. It can be water, which they'll go in water, but I'm saying most of the time they'll stay out of the water if they can walk around it. Or a big open harvest field that hasn't got nothing planted. They don't like walking in like broad open in daylight, especially pressured deer. So if you've got those two, the land in between it, you just made a corridor. You just made a funnel. Just set it every end of it, each end of it. Or, the topography of your land will dictate where you need to be. And you got to always keep in it. Where would I go if I was a big buck and I didn't want Andrew Maxwell to shoot me in my eyeball? And I'm being half serious about that. What would you do? They know they're being hunted. They're not stupid animals. Great nose, decent eyes, great ears. And the most important thing that every hunter needs to remember, you're going into their house. Okay? Could a deer come into your house and hide somewhere without you immediately picking it up? Yeah, you're probably going to notice it pretty quick. We look at it as woods. They look at it as their whole life has been here. Every memory, every smell, everything. So they're going to know something different real quick. And as soon as them big bucks find that out, that's when they're going to get the cover.
That's a good tie-in with a question.
Cody?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we're just making this the Circle segment where it's a bunch of questions from Circle. Cody asked...
This is a great one.
And this ties in with the funnels and how they don't like to go into open ground. He said, have you used this tactic to target a specific buck? They just cut a 100-acre section in the middle of a buck's core area that I was hunting last year. Do you think we can kill him in the 1-year-old cut or use it more like a funnel, trying to catch him working around the outside of it?
Outside of it. I mean, if 2.5-year-old, that's another unpopular opinion, they're just a little bit harder to kill than a doe. You get up in that 4.5, 5.5-year-old range, I ain't gonna walk out there in the open, not unless it's a full-blown rut. He's just not. He will walk 5 miles out of the way to keep from walking through 100 yards of clear in the daylight. Now, nighttime he'll be out there, but no, absolutely, I'd hunt the edges of it. I wouldn't hunt, I would find out if there's narrowing of the trees. If one side is thicker than the other, if you think he's traveling from north to south, does the east and west side have a narrow spot, or is the east and west side thinner or thicker? That's where you need to be. Because you got to keep it in your brain. How do I not die? And that's what he's thinking. And he's got all the weapons with him. He's not going to walk in a county in Alabama where you used to hunt. They click up 80 acres of land. Well, the first couple of weeks of the season, we wore them out, man. I mean, we smoked them because they was using the same trails. They didn't stop. They kept using the same trails. We broke them with a habit. And they did not use them trails no more. But for a couple of weeks now, we were smoking them, buddy. I mean, we was laying them down. And, but, after 2 or 3 of the kin folks, get truck rides, they stopped doing that. But of those, none of them were mature bucks. A couple of 2.5-year-olds and stuff like that, right at dark, or right at daylight. And is that a deer? One of those kind of things,
Mm-hmm.
But as far as, 7:30, 8:30 in the morning or 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, no, they ain't going to walk across that open ground. Not a pressured deer ain't.
Now, to kind of retouch on that question, he's asking, have you ever used this tactic to target a specific buck
Every year.
every year?
Every year. Like I said, you put it in your brain. How do I survive? Last year, they're actually called feints. I used a feint on a deer, and like I said, I didn't shoot him or anything, but I set him up, and I made him go a direction I wanted him to go. Several years ago, and this will show you, ingenuity is really big in deer hunting. This will let you know how much my brain is occupied by deer hunting, because most people don't go down these crazy roads, but this was a crazy road I went down. I found these cameras at a local chain store with a big W, and they were real cheap cameras. They was like $30. Well, I found out them suckers would scare deer, and I knew it because I would put a camera on the camera. I had a Tacticam sitting over this other camera. All right. And I was testing cameras that year. Every year I like to do something. And I was watching them. Well, this one camera, buddy, them deer would scatter. Well, going back to the ingenuity, I moved deer that year with those cameras. I put those cameras on one side of the mountain because I wanted them to come around another side of the mountain where it was easier to hunt them. And I actually put those cameras eye level right on the 3 trails, the high, middle, and low trail. And within 2 weeks, I was getting pictures of the deer on the other side of the mountain. So your bag of tricks is limited by your intelligence, or just your willful thinking of a different way of going about it. Diversions, feints, trickery, whatever you want to do. I'd like rather, trick a deer. You ain't outsmarting them, but they call it outsmarting. But I would rather to do that than go home empty-handed and hadn't learned anything. I'd rather sit in the woods and learn, okay, well, I shouldn't have done that. That was stupid. I run that deer off. That's a lot better lesson than killing a little bitty deer and not learning anything. I've learned not to do that anymore. But, yeah, I used trickery. I used the wolf pack method on solo deer. For 3 years in a row in a Central Alabama management area, I was after one deer. Didn't take a shot. And, buddy, he's a good one. I seen him twice. I sat on one side of this big field next to the thick. I seen him down at the very bottom of it, about 400 yards away. I said, damn. Next time I went down there, I seen him back up there where I was. Man. And for all I know, he's still alive. He probably died of old age, but nobody ever harvested him that I seen. And he would have been big enough you would have seen him. And but me and that deer played tricks on it. I mean, we was constant. And I would use even when you're by yourself, you still use the same fundamentals as we do with the wolf pack. If you're hunting near thick, hunt near that low place coming up. Hunt where they can run down this ridge and go to the next thicket. Hunt in those places that's the least resistance. Hunting those places where they're going to have a little bit of cover coming out of it. It hasn't got to be a wolf pack thing. It can be a tactic that you use, because if the deer are going to come out of that thicket, that's where they're coming out. I mean, they're coming out in the low places. They're coming out on the side of the ridge, 3/4 way up a ridge if it's running away from it. Or, if you're on flat ground, they're going to come out the direction to the next set of cover. Or they're going to come out the section closest to water. Or, they're going to have a reason to come out. And if you'll look around the thick spot, say, okay, there was some water over here. Well, you go to that side of that thick spot, you're going to see a trail every time. Okay, well, there's another cutover right over there. You're going to see a trail coming out of that cutover going to that one. And that's the spots you pick out and set up, solo hunting, because that's what they're going to do. I mean, if it was Mission Impossible and you're in there and you're a ghost and they ain't smelled you, they ain't seen you, they ain't done that, they still have to drink, they still have to eat. So, if you're picking a thicket, pick the next food and next water. But if they're in a thicket, like a true cutover thicket, they got plenty of food, so find the water.
Yep.
Because
they got to drink.
So I do want to cover this as well with you. So Cody's got another really good question. Actually, 2 questions. I'm going to give them both to you and let you try and answer them. and I really like these two. Number one is the Wolfpack tactic something you implement on the best weather and moon days, or is it something that you'll use when the weather is hot to increase your odds on quote unquote bad days?
There's not a difference. The Wolfpack is more successful when you time it with the rut, simply because you got more deer movement. You got guys have got a lot better chances. Before the rut, before the guys are fired up and all that stuff, you may take a deer. You may push one deer out of the thicket or two deer. But during the rut, everybody's got a chance. So what we do is, especially because we got it so good here in Alabama, we're not like up north where they have a whole state will have the rut the same week. Alabama, literally, the rut's going to be somewhere every week from bow season to the end of the season. I mean, they're still rutting in South Alabama at the end of the season. And you just learn it. You learn that rut map. And, when you've hunted WMAs as much as I have, I know exactly when to be there. I know exactly what week to be there. And I know when they're going to be pre-rut. I know when they're going to be rutting. I know when they post-rut. I know. And like I said, the phases in each one you hunt a little differently. But the Wolfpack thing, nah. It's just when we feel like it.
So it doesn't matter on wind or temperature or how good or bad the day could be.
Because scent the weather doesn't affect your scent very much, and it certainly doesn't affect the ability of that deer to know that he's going to die if he don't do something and he's going to move. It don't. It could be pouring rain. Scent's still out there because we're using scent to move deer. And, no, I don't think it. We wouldn't do a wolf pack because, it's going to be hot. We ain't going to say nothing. I don't think we've ever done it for that reason. Now, we'll do it because, it's right here at the rut. Or, we're going to be in the rut. This is when we're going to do it. I've carried you guys hunting with me before. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed every single time we went hunting, wherever we went hunting, this full-blown crazy rut or just
right on the edge.
Well, the last year, y'all were a little late getting there, but it was right on the edge of the rut. But we try to hit it when the deer are rutting. Your monster deer on these Mansmares, if I had all these electronics when I was younger, it'd been so much simpler. Man, y'all would have saved me so many miles walking. Simply because you can go back on Facebook. Let's take Facebook. All right. Name a Mansmere. We got Andrew Maxwell Mansmere. All right, you just scroll back through their pictures. Okay, they start killing bucks right here. There's about 2 or 3 of them right there. There's 4, 5, there's 6, 7 of them killed right there in that day. Okay, there's a rut. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's go over here to the Jacob Myers Mansmere. Let's scroll through here. Okay, this guy killed a big one. This guy killed it. That's good. But you already found out the rut. It took me years to figure it out. Years. And that's all you got to do. You got to go to Facebook and say, hey, man, there's a bunch of bucks killed, The famous one up north. I've only been there once. I can tell you exactly when the rut is. Exactly. Just because of social media. Don't limit your ways of figuring things out. Don't short... I say this a lot, and God, I love it too. You are a predator. Your eyes are in front of your head. That's for telescoping distances, figuring out distances. Now, you can go to all the little fancy dinners you want, but you're a primitive predator at heart. So it's in you. It may take a little while to get it out because, we got rules of society, but you're still a primitive predator. Use it. Be the predator, man. Every time, I say it a lot of times right before we go out, and I said, don't forget, we have eyes in front of our heads. We are predators. We are the most apex predator ever been on this earth. Act like it. And then you go out there and don't say nothing. But anyway, what I'm saying, you have the tools in you. Mm-hmm. To figure it out. Mm-hmm. And that's the only reason I said that. You have the tools. You have the genetics, you have the DNA, you have the senses, you have everything you need to become a hunter. You have it. Now, how hard it is to access is knowledge. Like y'all show. All right, Well, people are accessing that knowledge. Oh, I do these because I was that kid that didn't have nobody. My dad didn't hunt. My family didn't hunt. Nobody hunted. Those 6 or 7 years I said I didn't see a deer, that's because I was stupid. I didn't have a clue. And the only videos, you could go to a video store back then, they had those back then. You could rent a VHS tape, which y'all probably don't know about, and it would be guys hunting in Kansas. What you gonna learn about Alabama? And that's all it was. You know, there'd be people like Noel Feather shooting them deer up in 2 foot of snow. What good's that gonna do us down here? So, you know, I got to figuring out a few people I hunted with was just full of BS. So I thought, well, the only way I'm going to do this is if I learn it myself. So it took years for me to learn. And see, that's what's so great about y'all's show, man. And the only reason I do it is maybe somebody pick up on something that maybe took me 20 years to learn. Okay, but if they pick up on it today and it helps them one time, completely worth my time. Mm-hmm. Completely. You know, because I wished I'd had stuff like this, man, because I just, oh my God, I think back some of them times I went hunting, I was just the dumbest thing I ever walked. I had zero chance of seeing a deer. Some of the places I went, some of the things I was wearing, some of the ways I was doing it, I had but I had a clue. I was sitting there the whole time thinking one was fitting to step out. Nah, they were never going to step out. Wasn't even close to it, stepping out. I wasn't even dare even close to there.
Well, one thing you mentioned was like building up your knowledge and how it can help you hunting wise, but also to me, what's more important, which takes even more time, knowledge is something you can learn fairly quickly from a podcast. Like you can learn things, but to apply that knowledge is where you build wisdom.
Right. Correct.
So applied knowledge and applying what you're learning and actually seeing it work is how you really build that experience.
You hear things, and you've heard things I've said today. Well, I can be full of BS. You don't know. I got a couple $100 says I'm not, and I ain't talking about dollars. I got a couple 100 dead deer that says I'm not. But when you go out there, you're going to say, hey, man, that's exactly the way it just happened. Then it becomes wisdom. Mm-hmm. You know, until you get out there and apply it, it's not wisdom. But once you do it and it works or don't work, because you can learn just as much from failure as you can. Failure is your biggest motivator in life. You can learn just as much from failure as you can success. You know, sometimes the only thing you do learn on a hunt is what not to do. But that's still a real valuable thing to learn because it's, you know, you get to the point where I'm at. I see deer a lot more than I don't. And, you know, when you keep just adding, but you got to put all these principles, I mean, every year, people shoving all this new stuff on you. Some of it's actually pretty good. Some of it, no. I mean, it's just not. I mean, I bought a tree lounge one time. I mean, there's just some things just don't work. I mean, it seemed like it'd be a pretty cool idea. Till you're sleeping in it, you're sleeping most of the morning, then it ain't such a good idea, you know. But you don't know that until you apply the knowledge you've learned. And, you know, if there's one or two of these guys listen to this and they go sit between those two thickets, well, they drop a big buck. You think they're going to remember it? Yes, they are. They just got some wisdom. And, you know, if they do some of these tactics I talk about and some of these things, if they put the mind frame you said you go in, you know, if you go in thinking, I'm going to see a deer, man, that's a lot easier said than, man, that's just this place I don't like. Man, I heard a story of a guy that a mighty wisdom, great knowledge hunter told him to go sit in a place, and he just sitting there. He said, man, I'm just a bad hunter, and he's playing on his phone, and this guy don't know jack, and you know, this Wes Moye guy just ain't got no sense. And then all of a sudden, a 9-point standing right in back of him. See, Wes went from that idiot to, oh man, he knew what he was talking about.
He's talking about me for everybody.
I'm talking about Jacobs told the story. He was down on himself. He hadn't had much success. Then all of a sudden, boom, it changed in just a minute.
Yeah.
You know, your mind frame is a lot. If you go, and if your ideal of a good hunt is a harvest, and that's the only way you can have a good hunt, yeah, you're going to get disappointed about 90% of the time, 95% of the time. But if you go for the enjoyment, the camaraderie, the talking, the learning, that's what I go for. Okay, I learned something I need to do. I learned something I don't need to do. If you go for that, it's a constant learning and you're enjoying the learning process, you can't lose, man. You just cannot lose. You can't be sitting in a tree watching videos, laughing out loud when a man's with 40 years of knowledge on this land has said, sit here. And then you turn around and there's, how far was it in back of you?
30 yards.
30 yards in back of you. There's a not at the time, his biggest deer in his life, standing 30 yards in back of him.
I did kill the deer.
Hey, man, I had to get one in on you, man. He did kill, he did get the deer, but
Is that TikTok that called him in?
Yeah.
Heard that video.
hey, man, mind frame, oh my God, it'll make you sit so much longer. It really will.
Well, one thing that got me distracted, not for I say distracted, I wasn't in the right headspace on that hunt, was I didn't pack accordingly equipment, and it started misting rain, and I was cold, it was windy, and I'm like, this sucks. I haven't seen a deer.
Wes done gar hold
The
me.
guy's shooting a sounder pigs the ridge over from me. It sounded like a war zone.
How do you say you're a girl without actually saying you're a girl?
I was cold
Tell
and
me
wet,
that,
guys.
just say you soft, man.
I was cold and wet. And anyway, it was I had to distract myself.
About the wolfpack thing, and that's something we was talking about. We're so confident in the way we do it. We carry people with us. It ain't just Jacob. It's other people. I mean, last year, there was 5 different people killed rack bucks on public land doing what we do. I ain't saying do it every time, but I'm saying we're trying a couple times. I mean, we're awful successful at it, and the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. Mm-hmm. And, if a deer slipped out between you, you're going to know not to do that next time. And we're getting better at it every year. My son went to Kentucky. He never been to Kentucky. But he's seen all these guys sitting. He said, Dave, these guys were sitting in these blinds and stuff. He said, you can see it from the road. He said, well, what I done, I just went in right there that morning, went way back around, about 1.5 miles back there and come up. He used the same philosophy, basically, and he come back up and he shot 40-inch deer or something like that.
Really good buck.
But he was using it was the same principle. Mm-hmm. The people smell, push the deer right over it. Same principle I was talking about earlier when hunters come in, push deer towards you. Same principle.
Cody had another question just talking about that hunt with a group of guys, Wolfpack method. His last question was, how do you pick, or how does everybody get picked in the group for who's sitting upwind versus downwind? How does it rotate? What's the philosophy?
What I found out, the older, they're more likely to take the spots that aren't as hot. The young guys still have something to prove. They think, they still want to kill these deer. Me, I'll pick that upwind side every time. I don't care. As long as somebody kills something, I'm happy. I mean, I'm good. I mean, that day, I had a bad day that day you killed that deer. My truck tore up, man. I was stuck on the side of the road. But, man, that was a good day because Jacob killed a deer. Took some advice I gave him. So, if you're in it for hey, look at me, it's probably not a good thing to do because you're going to argue about where to go and who's going to go here, who's going to be the guy that gets winded. But see, there's really not a bad that's a thing a lot of people ask, but there's not a bad thing because a lot of bucks travel into the wind. Mm-hmm. So the upwind side's also good. And so you're sitting here and another guy's sitting over here. Well, this buck in the middle ain't smelt neither one. He's going to walk right out. Boom, there he is. So you've got equal chance. The ones that sneak out the back, of course, them guys got a better chance of them. But the bucks that don't smell, these two guys 400 yards apart, they're going to walk right through you. So there's really not a bad side.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, before the rut, the tendency is most guys on the upwind side of a thicket, that's where the wind's blowing into the thicket on that side, they see the most deer and kill the most deer. But during the rut, it changes. It's on the downwind side. and because they want the bucks will travel lengthwise, going crosswind, so they can smell everything in that thicket. And that's the two things that change about it. And the rest of the year, really, I would say the downwind guys kill maybe a few more than the upwind guys have, but it's still pretty close. I mean, it's close.
And I feel like just hunting with you a handful of times, there's always situations where it almost seems like some of the better bucks get seen on the upwind side, but they don't always get shot.
Right.
And it's just because, I mean, this is how it sets up. Another, I really question on the wolfback hunting is, first off, you mentioned this very early on in this conversation about like core beliefs about being efficient with your weapon. And one thing that comes into mind with these hunts is because you're hunting pretty close to this thick cover. Typically, I mean, every spot's a little bit different. Every setup is a little bit different, but a lot of times you're 40 yards to 60 yards off the edge, but you're climbing up real high where you can kind of try to see down to the edge, but you can see linear down the side of the cover. Is sometimes, even though those bucks smell someone around there, they won't truly exit the cover. They'll come up to the edge.
So, yeah, that's something you better learn. You better learn to pop quick.
And that cost me.
A lot of them will just, I mean, and I warned you that day that when you killed your first deer, I said, you're not going to have long.
Yeah.
I said, you better shoot quick. I said, some of them will just pop out, look around and go, okay, and pop right back in. They pop out of that cover. They won't even come their whole body out of it.
Yeah.
It'll be half their body. They'll pop out, they'll look around just a little bit, and then pop right back in there. But when that happens is generally when there's a doe involved, and he'll go back and forth trying to pick her scent back up. He may have dropped her scent a little bit, or she may have went that way. But man, I mean, sometimes it's 3 seconds or less. But 3 seconds is longer than you think it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, unless you're Jacob.
No, wait.
All right, guys, I got to tell you this story. First time we carried Jacob deer hunting, he done good. He killed a deer. But he come back, and when we had a little morning meeting, I met him up at the truck. He was changing up your saddle, or you were getting them step things putting on your back. I seen you up at the truck because I had to carry Scott. A couple of hunters had left, and we had to carry them out and all that. Well, then Jacob was telling me the story. Well, I seen this buck, man. He said, but it was about 70 yards away, man. And all I had was a neck, and I didn't really want to neck shoot it, and it was only there for a couple of minutes. And I'm going, oh my God, I would have shot it and gutted it. Dude, you got to be quick. Man, you got to be quick, because sometimes, I mean, really, it's just, and it's over. And there's sometimes you absolutely can't get a shot. But sometimes, if you're sitting there looking at it and you're already making the assumption, okay, I can see the neck pretty good, 70 yards, that deer should be on the ground. And I told Jacob, he said, man, I was afraid it'd be a long blood trail. I said, there's 7 or 8 of us. We're good. We're good. We can track it down. Then Jacob goes straight in the woods, kills a deer.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
It was the same one because that one I saw.
yeah, when you're hunting,
Yeah.
the word linear you used a while ago, that's great. When you're hunting the linear side, you're looking up the cutover. Sometimes it's quick, man. I mean, you can't be dozing too much, because sometimes you can be sitting there for 3 hours and just nothing, and then all of a sudden one steps out about halfway and he's standing there looking around.
And a lot of times you don't even hear them.
No,
That's the weird thing is you think it's all that thick cover. You hear them, but like they don't make any noise a lot of times.
That used to surprise me, because you think you could. Sometimes you can hear them running around in there. Sometimes, but sometimes you can't. I mean, they just pop out and there'll be like 2 or 3 of them. You go, what happened? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it can be a lot quieter. But I think the thicker it is, the more it muffles the sound down, knocks the vibration coming off. It knocks it down, and the deer aren't as loud. But then sometimes you may sit outside that thicket, and this is the most torturous thing I've ever seen. And you just hear him grunting.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And man, he's running all in that thicket, and you just sitting there, and yeah, he's finna pump out. Yeah, he's finna pump out. And he'll do it he'll just keep going. And you never see him, man, but you hear him grunting the whole time.
Yep.
You go, man. But yeah, well, a lot of the things that people want to try the wolf pack thing, I've said enough of the basics that it should get you started, and then you should mend it to the way you hunt. You know, if you're a saddle hunter, you know, okay, set it up to where it'd be convenient for you to be a saddle. If you're a stand hunter like me, set it up to that. You know, if you've got 3 people, okay, let's see how 3 people can do it. If you got 10 people, okay, let's see best way 10 people. But mold it to what would go best. Now, we've got one guy, and our guy's going to know exactly what I'm talking about. If it's legal, it's down. And I mean, I don't care if it's a doe hunt in the middle of the rut, that doe's hitting the ground. And so, you know, and we know that, but we know that about him. And so, you know, I'll get him way away from me. But, no, I'm joking. Jerry, I love you, man.
Yeah,
but anyway, and that's a great philosophy, actually, you know. If it puts meat in your freezer and Jerry's got a family to feed and everybody else, put that sucker in the freezer. You know, and this guy, and one thing I don't like is deer shaming. If it's legal, shoot a fawn. I don't care. As long as it made your day, it made your hunt, hey, good for you, man. I'm happy for you. You know, if you stand there and look at a deer and don't get a shot because it's only a neck shot, I'm not going to be happy. Nah, I'm just messing with Jacob. I always pick on Jacob. Jacob,
yeah, you never pick on Andrew because you like me more. I get it.
Andrew, why would you pick on a man that can't kill a deer?
I know.
We've carried him 2 or 3 times. He just like, oh man, I seen this deer, I seen that deer, I seen this deer, I seen that deer. He ain't coming out with one yet.
No, he don't like pulling the trigger.
You shot a hog though, didn't you?
Yeah, I did kill a hog. I got me some bacon. It's all right.
Okay. But, you know, I can't pick on Andrew until Andrew actually has a couple on the wall. I mean, he's got, from us. You've killed a couple of deer you've put on the wall with us.
Yeah.
So, you know. But see, that was, you know, that second deer you killed, that 9-point. Mm-hmm. That was absolutely what I was talking about earlier, the drive to go. That's all that killed that deer. It was my 20-something-year-old knowledge, but you'd had a rough evening. You'd stayed up late. It was raining that morning and all that, but you may have been playing on your phone, but your butt was still in a tree. But you were still in a tree. Mm-hmm. You gave yourself the opportunity. So that was your willpower done that. Mm-hmm. So that was a good thing. Yeah.
Well, also, another thing I want to ask you about is, what is your, I'm trying to think, not really thought process, but when you're hunting one of these areas, this thick cover, and you're a climber guy, you like your climber, typically what is your, I guess, thought process of how high do you like to climb when it comes to hunting?
Depends on the geography. I like to get up high, simply from a big word, thermal reason. I like to get up high. I'm a smoker, so I like to get up high, and I like to be able to see. But there's been so many times that I'm 10, 12 foot, simply because I can't get high enough to get over the foliage. So you have to get low enough where you can see under it. You know, if you cannot absolutely get above it, you know, you may be hunting with a bunch of cedar trees around. Okay, well, you can go up 45 feet. All you're going to see is right there below. But if you stay below where all them branches start, you can see out there a little bit. Most of the places I hunt, there's not a lot of visual range. I mean, I can't remember the last time I shot a deer that was 100 yards away, because I'm in the thick usually. So, but if it's around a thicket, 2, 3, 4-year-old thicket, son, I'm skyscraping. I'm nosebleeding. I was a firefighter, man. I have no problem going up heights, but I get up as high as I can get. So I can see over it. But a lot of times the situation that dictate that. Sometimes you can't go as high. I was talking about Jerry a while ago. Jerry has a place on the management area, and it's I guess it'd probably be about a 10-year-old cutover. And he carries his tree stand in, and he only gets about 5, 6 foot off the ground. And he's killed, I think, 3 or 4 wall hangers in there. But the foliage, that's as high as he can get and still see. But he's like, I can reach up and touch him. He doesn't get high, but that's what that area calls for. It's like I was talking about the last couple of seasons. I used a ground blind. It wasn't because I was lazy. That's exactly what it called for. You know, it's like a 7-year-old cutover, and it goes for miles. And I only have a little bit of land, so it doesn't. You can't hunt the edge. You only got the middle, so how you gonna hunt it? I put up a ground blind, get me a tie wig, and I'm sitting in my tie wig. So just adapt to anything that comes in front of you.
I think most of the questions I feel like we've kind of covered, but Gabe Heft had a really good question because we've been talking about tricking deer and being patterned by hunters and patterning hunters and all that. He said he wants to know about how do you know when a buck is patterned to you? Like a specific buck that you're hunting, how do you know he's patterned you?
All right. I told several people year before last, Jacob was one of them, that I was going to, every year I do something. I'm checking cameras, I'm checking this, but it's just I want to see. Well, we were on one of your hunter hangouts, and there was a doctor talking about a deer. And everything he was telling me, I said, man, that deer's absolutely got him patterned. Because I'm a really, really, really big believer in deer pattern hunters. They have to. It's their life. And so I made up my mind on that. I said, I'm going to find out. So last year, and it was on private land, and it was the land I was checking out. Every single time I knew there was a front coming, and I'd have wind going to blow in the same direction for 2 days, I would carry my cell camera with me. And I would put it about 50, 60 yards downwind from where I hunted to check to see if the deer would start moving or if they was coming up to check. And every single time they done it, every time. I got pictures. I've been gone 10 minutes. There'd be 4 or 5 deer standing out there. And I got to checking that. And, yeah, you can go to a place and you can put a cell camera on the tree you were in. And watch what we see. They're coming. You know, you think you sneak in, you sneak out. No, you don't. No, you do not. They know you're there. And every one of them, and I knew this little area I was hunting. It was a small area. And it was the place I was talking about earlier about tricking the deer. All right, so I hunted this one little place just trying to get them to pattern me. Okay, well, we can see his truck over there. He walks in, he gets right here, certain time of day. He leaves, certain time of day. I've done like 2 or 3 days in a row. The camera was sitting downwind. I knew them deer were checking me out. Well, one day I left early. I left, instead of coming in about 2 o'clock, I got there about 12 o'clock and stayed till almost dark. Well, almost dark. He walked right up there. He was with that nose. He put the nose in the leaves, then put it up in the air. He never come all the way. The bigger bucks won't come all the way to the tree you're in, but they come close enough that they're sitting there smelling you. And the does will just come up and start sniffing the tree. But yeah, they absolutely pattern you, man. I mean, they 100% pattern you. And but you can use that. And this is the reason I done the thing. I wanted to see if I could use that against them, and I did. And I know now I've got another I got another trick in my bag. I know the next time I come up to one that I've got a problem with, I can't get him to daylight. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm gonna use that trick on him. I'm gonna go in certain time. I'm gonna get there say 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna hunt till 11. Be gone the rest of the day. I'm gonna make loud. You ain't gotta be loud. Be normal. Walk in normal. Do the same thing. Hunt it a couple of days. Leave. Hunt a couple of days. Leave. And then come in there before daylight. Come in from a different direction. Be quiet. Be this. Don't park the same place. Do everything different. And wherever he's been coming up to check you, be sitting there. And so when I got that deer to walk under me, I was about 85 yards from where I usually hunt. I was downwind 85 yards from where I usually hunt. And I moved back to give him his nose. And he walked right up under my tree. And I would have taken him, and I wanted to take him earlier that year, but he broke off one of his racks. And I said, well, I'll get him next year. He'll be a little older, and plus it looked like he got hit by a car because one rack was completely gone, and the other one, like 2 or 3 points up here, was broke off. They were broken up. So I think he got hit by something, but he didn't limp or anything, 'cause I seen him. But, yeah, I know how to get him this coming year. If he's still alive, if he's still around, I know that's another little trick I've got in my bag. And the sole purpose was to learn. We try to pattern deer, and a lot of hunters don't realize deer have you patterned also. It's when you break that pattern. That's the reason these little 14-year-old boys used to walk in on these management areas. They'd kill the biggest deer on there because they didn't do the normal hunting stuff. You know, they sat close to the road, or they sat in a place where nobody would sit. You know, these first-time hunters come into a place and they kill a biggest buck they've been there because they're not doing what is the deer have the hunters patterned. And that's the thought process I got into last year, and I wanted to find out, and I wanted to be able to use it against them. And I'm going to do it some more this year, and I'm going to learn to use their pattern. I'm going to use them pattern hunters against them. I'm going to figure out a way of doing it. I think I already have, but I'm going to try it a couple more times. But yeah, you can absolutely do that.
Another question is you target specific deer on public, but you've also got some private that you've been hunting, and you've got some really nice bucks on. Over these last couple seasons, I'm curious about your thoughts going into this season, because 2 years ago we've been asking kind of everybody on this topic. 2 years ago we had bad drought, no mast. Last year, great mast year. This summer, so far, we were getting all kinds of rain. At least around here we are.
Plus it's El Nino, so that means you're going to have a wet winter.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on for this fall? Well, actually, here, let me back up. 2 years ago, do you feel like your deer didn't make a big jump in size last year because of that lack of mast? Or do you think it was about normal year to year?
No, I killed a couple real good deer. In other words, what you're asking, did the extra mast crop affect the antler growth? Basically,
2 years ago, did the lack of mast crop affect the antler growth?
I do better on the years of lack of, because they're having to travel more for food. I do better on those years. The heavy mast crop, as far as seeing deer, didn't do a whole lot of changing for me because I know what the feed trees and stuff, where to go and how to do it. It's just the only thing I need to find out in that situation is if it's a heavy mast year, if it's not and then I know what to do. But they'll hit the green fields a little bit more when there's no mast crop. Not as much as you think, but their brow's a lot heavier. Mm-hmm. And then when there's a heavy mast crop like there was this past year, I mean, it was unreal. Man, they got acorns here the whole season, and the bodies are bigger that year. I don't know if it affects the rack a whole lot, but the bodies are definitely bigger. I've killed year before last and the year before that, I killed a 212 and a 240 pound deer.
And for everybody listening, that is a big deer in Alabama.
Yeah.
Big deer.
But that's when I shot them. They're big bodied deer. I mean, the rack didn't even. I'd rather shoot a big deer than I ain't going to say that. I'd be lying. I'd just shoot a big rack, but big deer is a real close second. I like them really, really big bodied deer because they're really rare in Alabama. I mean, they look like cows walking through the woods to me. I can't even imagine being up north, them 300 pounders.
Oh, dude. I had a doe come out on me in Kansas. She looked like a mule walking out of the thicket.
Yeah, I don't see how they'd be hard to miss. But, we're shooting at these little 40-pound squirrels on crack, deer running through the woods and acting crazy, and they're shooting up there. They're up there shooting dead cars.
Yeah.
I'm saying all you northern people can't shoot. I'm joking, man. I'm joking. I'm just saying I can't. Because your mind goes everywhere. I really don't know what would go through my brain if I seen a deer of 300 pounds walking through the woods. That would just blow my mind. I've shot big deer, and the one thing I've noticed about the big deer, they look like they had short legs. but it's the girth. The girth, that's the only thing. But I was sitting there going, oh, my God. It freaked me out because I've been killing 100, 110-pound deer for years and years, and then killed one last year, year before last, 242 pounds.
Giant.
Yeah, it looked like something from up north. Then Wesley shot that one. My son Wesley shot one in Kentucky. I think he said it was right at 300 pounds.
God.
And he brought it out without gutting it out. Shot it like 7:30 that morning, got it out at like almost 10 o'clock that night.
Oh, my gosh.
He was by himself, had to go across beaver dams and all kinds of stuff to get it out. He was telling me a story just the other day. He said, man, I thought I was going to drown, man. He said, I stepped off in a deep hole, and, man, I was with all my gear and everything. I went underwater.
He's a big dude, too. That's like, he's tall as crap.
Yeah, he's big as I am. So
That's the thing. Our buddies up north, they'll be like, yeah, I killed that buck. He weighed 240. Well, they're talking about 240 dressed. I'm like, no, we weigh him with the guts in down here. We got to have everything that we got.
Well, Wesley was talking about 300, everything in it.
Oh, yeah.
It was probably a 250, 60-pound deer. Yeah. Now, when I said I shot the 242, that was everything. Mm-hmm. Even the dirt on it. I weighed it out.
You went and hosed him out with a hose pipe, get him soaking wet before you
hey, man,
weigh him.
Aaron Stapleton was with me, and we had to drag that deer. We could get the four-wheeler pretty close to it. We only had to drag it maybe 25 yards and then put it up on the truck. And we're both big guys. And I'm saying, I ain't shooting no more of that big. It just ain't happening. I'm going to go buy me one of them little winch things people got. I was a big, man, it about whooped us just trying to get it up on the truck.
Oh, yeah. We had to drag one out in Kansas that I shot a couple years ago. I don't know how much it weighed, but we had to drag him across this big mud flat. And I was like, man, once we get to that mud, it's going to be easier because it'll skim across the top of it. No.
All right. I always tell a crazy story. Here's your story, a crazy story. We went hunting with Scott and his dad down in Dallas County, and they had seen 3 or 4 deer run out in this little island of trees right out in the middle of the soybean field. When I say in the middle of the soybean field, I'm talking about a quarter mile out there in the middle of the soybean field. Well, they send us out there. We're going to run them out, and the deer are going to run right back towards the trucks. Well, anyway, so the deer start running out, and Scott shoots one. Shoots it right in the rear section. This deer runs the worst way it can run out there and drops. Well, it's myself, Scott, and a man named Frankie Gaither. He's passed away. We're all college football players. We're in shape. No, we weren't. So we had to go out there and get this deer, all right? Every time you take a step, the mud comes up about 3 or 4 inches above your boot. Okay. We're pouring sweat by the time we get to deer. Well, now we've got about a half a mile through this field to go back to the truck.
Oh, my goodness.
His dad and them sitting up there in the trucks, you can see them. They done done with hunting that day. They done broke out the Jack Daniels. They're laughing. We're idiots. And, man, we go out there, and us 3 big ball players, we're going to go get that deer. Yeah, we did. We struggled, man. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I mean, and the Frankie Gaither guy, he was about 6'2". We called him the albino rhino. If that lets you know the reason how he was built. He just like this big offensive lineman, man. I thought. And Scott used to be like a big muscle man. I was a receiver, so I didn't know. We thought we was all this. And every step, mud started coming up to our shin. We was going to take a shortcut. Going to save us about 50 yards. We was going to go around this hill instead of go over it. So we went around this hill, there's even more water. Now it's coming up almost to the shin bone. Anyway, we struggle. I mean, we're struggling. We're about to have a heat stroke. It's cold, and we're about to have a heat stroke. We're red. We're sweating. We're everything. We get back to where the little road is where his dad and them sitting. I don't have a right shoe. The Frankie boy has no shoes. Scott has got so hot that he's done pulled his breeches down, trying to cool off, pulling his shirt off. And them older men are laughing, man. I mean, they're rolling off. Literally, one of them rolled off the back of the truck laughing at us idiots. Out there trying to drag that big old doe out of that soybean field, and every time you take a step. And did not, and Frankie did not go get our shoes. Screw that soybean field. We weren't going back in it. We learned enough not to do that again. But I lost my right shoe. And he lost both his. Because you go in and so many times, man, your foot gets stuck and you're trying to pull it out and you look and it don't look like the trucks are getting no closer. And man, oh man, we was all cocky. We were not cocky after that. We kept calling them like old men and all this stuff, you know. We was great shape. We called them old man. Them guys, they done set up there. And it took us so long that they done pretty much got a pretty good buzz. What's going on there, muscle man? And, you know, they was giving up. Man, I was just sitting there going, all right. Well, we get the deer back. And it was the first time I'd ever been hunting. So it's the first deer. I'm thinking, well, we got a deer, man. This is great. Scott walks up there and he walks to this guy. He said, man, you want that deer? I wanted to kill him. I wanted to he gave that deer away. I absolutely wanted to choke him to death and kill him and, like, didn't go back to his grave and defecate on it. Man, I was mad. Man, I was mad. It took us over an hour to drag that deer out of that field. And them guys were sitting up there getting drunk, just laughing. I mean, you could hear them laughing. Come on, hero. And then every time one of us would fall down, they'd laugh that much louder. We come out and where's your shoes? And all this stuff. So, yeah, I've done a lot of stupid things, man. You have to earn that wisdom. I ain't saying I won't do any stupid stuff anymore. That's probably going to happen, but I ain't walking through no soybean field again when it's wet. You can bet that.
You got a good story out of it, though.
Yeah.
That's right.
When I say Scott, I'll still bring up the soybean story, and it just starts saying, he said, I ain't doing that no more. And I said, you're the one shot it. I said, at least you could have dropped it right there. Didn't have to run off 500 yards the wrong way.
We'll bring that up to Scott next
But the worst thing, man, the worst part about all of it was, I mean, so we got back, man. I'm pretty much thinking I'm about to have a stroke. I mean, my heart's beating in my eyeballs. And I mean, it was strenuous. And he said, you want this deer? What we got? Let him go get it. But he gave that deer away, and I said, man. But anyway, he's a good old guy. But yeah, I always have to tell one story of me being stupid.
Some archaeologist going to find your boot in 500 years.
Well, all right. I'm going to tell him myself. Y'all have heard the peacock story? Mm-hmm. Where I seen peacock, it was the peacock story. It was that day. It was the first time I'd ever been in the woods. I seen some wild turkeys, thought they were peacocks.
Oh yeah. Okay, I remember the story.
Well, it's also the first time I've ever been deer hunting. I was wearing penny loafers. Yeah, so there's a penny loafer out there in that soybean field somewhere.
That's what you were wearing?
Yes, that's what I wore.
Terrible.
I can't.
That's all I had, man. We left from college going down there. It wasn't like I could go home and get some clothes. I had penny loafers and cleats. I wasn't going to wear my cleats, so I wore my penny loafers. I was wearing penny loafers, blue jeans, and a members-only jacket first time I ever went hunting. And that evening, I killed a deer. Deer run right up there like 30 yards and stopped in front of me. I went, oh, man, a deer. Oh, I'm supposed to shoot it. Penny loafers and a member-only jacket, boys. That's where I started. Seen a bunch of wild turkeys, thought they was peacocks. Yep. I was a seasoned veteran. Hey, man, but see, that's what makes hunting fun, man. I'm sitting here and I'm laughing just as much as y'all. I've done some stupid stuff, but to me, man, that's some of my best memories, man. Okay, you were dumb. Okay, you know, if you start getting full of yourself, just think of one of them stories. You'll come right back down. You'll bring yourself down. Deer hunting will humble you in ways nothing else will. I mean, it will. They'll make you look like an idiot. Nobody's got it figured out. Nobody's got it all figured out. Nobody. And, you know, I hate, sometimes I listen, I'm not talking about this podcast, but I'm talking about in reference to some of these people posting on Facebook and stuff, these hunting groups and all this stuff. These guys think, oh, man, I'm the greatest deer hunter in the world. I'm the best person this. I know everything this. I know that. No, you don't. You're an idiot. You're an idiot if you think that. If you're not trying to learn every single year, and I've been doing it for a lot of years, and I still realize that I have a lot to learn, and I'm still trying to learn every year, and I still listen to people, and I learn things. And if I can give anybody advice, man, it's a constant learning process, and don't get down on yourself because you don't know it right now. It'll come. I mean, you're going to learn more through them bad days than you will them good days. You just go climb a random tree and a buck walks on and you shot him, you ain't really learned a whole lot. But if you sit in that tree about 7, 8 hours, you're looking at the landscape and you're seeing how the woods is acting and where shots are coming from, you've learned a lot more. So sometimes your failures aren't failures. They're just a learning process. But the wolf pack thing, man, you can do it with one person. The wolf pack, we call it the wolf pack simply because I watched that thing about the painted wolves. And we use the same philosophy. Instead of chasing the deer, we're using our scent. We let the scent push the deer. And that's all it is. It's letting people push deer over you. You know, last year we had people on the, you know, I have some superlatives I would use, but I'm not. Had some people, oh, y'all doing man drives. Yeah, I've been hunting for 40 years. I'm stupid enough to do a man drive with a high-powered rifle. On a management area full of other people with high-powered rifles. Yeah, y'all been with me. We don't do no man drives. And people come up with stuff, man, just don't let them get to you. People talk smack. I don't know, maybe their mama didn't breastfeed them long enough or something. I don't know. They got some issues. I don't know, man. They got some issues. They really do. Hell, man, there was guys threatening to whoop me. And I was going, man, the only thing I said is we don't man drive. And this guy was all up in me. Yeah. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, I looked at his profile and does he realize I'm 6'6", 280 pounds and, you know, taught martial arts for over 20 years? Really? That's the guy you wanted, like, whoop? No, don't do that. And especially an old guy like that, an old guy will shoot you. I ain't going home with no bruises, man. I went all the way through my life with a lot. I was bouncers. I fought in the cage a bunch. I ain't never really been whooped. I ain't starting at 61. I'll shoot you. I ain't lying. But you know, the reason I said that, and man, deer hunting's got to a great place and it's got to a really, really bad place. Mm-hmm. And it's simultaneous. And just stay on the positive side, man. If you're a deer hunter, be happy for somebody shooting a deer. It ain't got to be a big one, man. I've seen people kill really good deer. There's always one or two. You know, and they get on y'all. And I know people send bad stuff to you and stuff like that. Don't let them idiots bother you, man. Do what you're doing. Y'all have helped more hunters than anybody in Alabama. Screw Alabama, in the Southeast. Y'all have helped so many. When you can sit there and you have taken a man that one time I hunted 52 days in a season. When you take a guy who's got that much hunting behind him and he can learn stuff from your show, you're doing a great job. Y'all two need to keep on, man. Y'all doing a great job. And these guys don't realize how many years y'all are cutting off their knowledge. I mean, because it takes a lot of years to learn a lot of things they hear on your place and they go try it and they know it. You know, like I was talking about the rut. God, it was about 7, 8 years me trying around management areas before I ever figured that out. Now you got rut maps. You got people tell you. You got Facebook. You got all these different things. It took me 7, 8 years to figure out when the rut is. Okay, when's the peak of that rut? And, you know, when's the 3 or 4 day period I should be there? It took a lot of years, a lot of hunting to learn that. Now I can learn it in 10 minutes. From shows like y'all and different things. And, you know, y'all teach, y'all are saving people so much walking time, so much learning, so many different techniques and tactics they can use. And, you know, I mentioned earlier about the book, The Art of War, and it really does teach you a lot of deception, and it teaches you a lot of feints. Even incorporate it. Don't let the deer pattern you, or let them pattern you and then use it against them. But always be evolving as a deer hunter, and you can't go wrong. I ain't saying, you won't see me get a saddle. I'm not evolving that much. I'm not. I'm looking at you too, because you're a big saddle man. But I like the saddle for one reason. It's got a lot of people in the woods. A lot of people go hunting now because they can use saddles. Hey, man, good for you. If you want to be a girl and you can't tote a portable, go and get you a saddle. I'm playing, man. I'm playing. But no, but it gets people in the woods. Hey, good deal, man. I hope you find the serenity, and I hope you find the success, and I hope you find the bad days like I have in the woods. I wish that for everybody, because the bad days is going to teach you, the good days are going to make you feel good, and the serenity is going to make you sane, or keep you sane, or help you get there. But, you know, it's just, y'all need to keep doing what you're doing, man. I 100%, I've liked y'all ever since the first time I heard you. And I mean, y'all do a good job, and I'm glad that y'all got to a place that you can do it full time, and I hope it gets a lot bigger for you. You know, y'all like take me on hunts out west somewhere or something. But that's the one thing about me, though, and I'm different from a lot of them. I've never hunted out of Alabama.
Really?
And I've never wanted to. I never I've never hunted out of Alabama and don't want to. I haven't learned Alabama yet. When I was talking about the constant learning, I haven't learned all there is in Alabama. They ain't no use going somewhere else if you ain't learned all of it in one place. Nah, I like the convenience of going home at night. But
We appreciate that, man. And the show is only what it is because of guys like you who come here.
yeah, like I
share what
said
you
earlier, man, y'all don't even have crayons anymore. Y'all were so primitive, man. I think we done it in the back of an SUV or something. And I think, you know, I was talking and he was writing, Jake was writing it down in crayon. It was pretty primitive back then. Now y'all got this big setup, man.
Make you look like $1 million.
Hey, man, I was sitting there and I didn't know what to, I think they were just like take picture cameras. I didn't know they were video cameras. You can tell I'm clever about video stuff, and y'all got them everywhere now. We even got chairs set in now. Back a long time ago, you know, we had to squeeze around the table, wear the headphones.
Oh, the headphones
stuff.
are bad.
And every time you touch the mic, it pop your ear. That's pretty nice.
Which you're bad about. Every time we've had Wes on with the headsets, man, you can't
I'm
help.
not-
You hit it 15 times a
I
podcast.
don't use a headset. Really, where's that going? Where am I going to do that? Where am I going to put
He's not a
headphones?
helicopter pilot.
Yeah, it makes you feel like a helicopter pilot or something.
I've still, I don't even wear earbuds, man. I'm just not used to that. This I can handle this, but yeah, I like seeing y'all doing pretty good, man. It looks like it's doing real well.
No, we appreciate Wes and appreciate you coming down here. And I think
Ain't no problem.
hopefully this episode for a lot of the newer audience members from the last couple of years who haven't heard our original episode with you from 7 years ago got a lot of good information out of this, but also people that have been listening for a long time. You've said some stuff on this podcast that I think was even better explained than the previous times we've had you on, which is awesome. So,
Well, the first time, first time we done it, man, we wouldn't even know her. We were on the
Yeah, it
phone.
was
we
on
were
the
on the
phone.
phone. Yeah, it was a phone thing. And I was nervous. I'll get out. I didn't have a clue what y'all was going to ask me. I said, man, what if they asked me what the humidity was that day? I ain't that kind of hunter. I don't know about that stuff. Yeah, you can tell them nerves are gone now.
absolutely. Well, Wes, appreciate you coming down here and for all the audio and, I always say audio and
Force of habit, man.
video listener. Anyways, all the audience members, thank y'all for watching and listening to the podcast. We'll catch you back here on the next episode from the Southern Outdoorsman. And remember, guys, y'all stay Southern.